recording. Okay, so these are the outlines of the introduction of that big data analytics. Okay, what is meant by big data? What are the characteristics of that big data? Okay, why this concept has to be introduced? So that things we will see in this chapter. Okay, so the first thing before saying that the characteristics of the data, so let's see that what is meant by data. You all are familiar with that. Okay, so the quantities, characteristics, symbols. So whatever the raw things we are going to collect it, so that is called as a data. Okay, we are going to collect the raw things. So ultimately it is called as a what? Data. It might be a quantity, it might be a character, it might be a symbol, it might be a images, whatever it may be. Okay, so that things we are going to collect it, raw data. Okay, raw material we are going to collect it. So that is called as a what? Data, right? And what is information? We are going to process that data. Okay, and after processing that data, we are going to extract the meaningful information from that data. So that is called as a information. Okay, so what is data? It is a raw thing. Okay, raw material we are going to collect it. And in that data, see, in this diagram, in that data, we are going to do some processing, right? We are going to process that data. And after processing that data, we are going to extract the meaningful information. Okay, so that is nothing but what? Information. Okay, so see guys, for example, here I am going to give an example at here. Okay, for example, if they're having some Mahindra company is there. Okay, and in that Mahindra company, so for example, their tractor is one of the vehicle. Okay, so in every city, in the suppose you can consider the example of Maharashtra. In the Maharashtra, so they're having those who are the metropolitan city. So they're having the showroom of that Mahindra tractor. Okay, for example, suppose the Mahindra tractor, those who are the owner of that particular organization, so that persons wants the information about how much tractors are sold in month of February. Okay, so we can take let's one example at here. Okay, the Mahindra company owner wants to know how many tractors are sold out in the month of February. Okay, so at that time, what we have to do? So we are going to collect the data from every showroom. Okay, whatever the showrooms are present in the Maharashtra state. Okay, we are going to collect that in data. Okay, so that is called as a data. We are going to collect the raw things. Okay, after collecting the data from the all the showrooms, right? For example, in Pune showroom, they're having, suppose in the February month, 150 tractors are sold out. Okay, in the Solapur district, so for example, they're having the suppose 120 tractors are sold out. So these raw data is collected. Okay, and we are going to process that data. Okay, how we are going to process that data? We are going to combine all the quantities, right? And after combining the quantities, right? So we are going to get the meaningful information, right? Means whatever the raw data we are going to collect it, we are going to process that data, and in the after processing that data, we are going to extract the meaningful information. Okay, so that is nothing but what? Information. Okay, fine. So then we are going to move to the next part, that is characteristics of that data. Okay, so basically we are going to see the characteristics of data. Okay, so whatever the raw material we are going to collect it, if they're having a composition, condition, context are there. Okay, so these are the some of the characteristics of that data, and where it is stored. After collecting that data, where it is stored, we are going to store in the hard drives, external hard drives, and suppose if you have to store in your smartphones. Okay, so these are the storage of after collecting this data. Okay, now moving to the next part, what is big data? Okay, so what is big data? So already I am saying about that. So big data is a concept is introduced for what? So basically in the traditional data having some problem, nowadays they are having a huge amount of data, right? So every organization consists of the unstructured data and where it is stored, because in the traditionally what happens, so they're having the paper, in the paper format we are going to store that data, but now in today's they're having the digital data is there. Okay, and we in the chapter number first we have seen that they're having three types of digital data is there: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. Okay, but where these data has to be stored, this is a big problem is there, right? So a big data problem on your hands. So if you have to in every bit of the data, okay, so where it is stored, so that's why this big data uh, concept has to be introduced. Okay, so what is that big data? So here we are going to see at here. So introduction of big data. See the major data sources for big data. Okay, so where we are going to collect that data. Okay, so then achieved data means they're having the scan documents are there, machine log data, social media data, sensor data are there, public web sources data, multimedia files are there, in that audio, videos, digital files, pictures. Okay, text are also there. Then internal documents, if your organization though, so they're having the different types of data are there. Some of the data is in the PowerPoint presentation, some of the data is in PDF form. Okay, some of the data in the HTML pages, some of the data in the text form. Okay, so these are the internal documents are there. Then another thing is operation and the analytical database. Okay, so NoSQL, SQL, Hadoop, so whatever the relational database we are going to use to perform the online analytical processing. Okay, so that this is also one of the data of your organization, right? So where all these data has to be stored, see, these are the data analytics, right? So some of the data is achieved data, some of the data is machine log data. Okay, some of the data is your social media data, sensors data is there, public web sources data is there. Okay, so these